Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility, reviewing new releases all the damn time here on the channel across all forms of heavy metal, hard rock, classic rock, progressive rock, jazz and jazz fusion. That's what we mainly cover here on the channel. Today we're going to take a look, a couple months late on it because it came out last year. We didn't get the physical product till late in the year, but finally got a hold of it because I knew I would eventually. The 50th anniversary edition of Judas Priest's 1974 debut, Rocka Rolla, along with the original cover art. I've only ever had the I had the LP back in the day, but on CD I've only ever had the reissue that came out in the early 90s with the terrible alternate cover art and whatnot. And I always thought that Rocka Rolla, not a terrible sounding album, but a very old sounding album. It's like, to me, there's like, you got Rocka Rolla and all of a sudden, Sad Wings of Destiny, Sin After Sin, right? Stay in Class, all these great sounding records. Sad Wings, which is getting a reissue and remix for its 50th anniversary coming up in the not too distant future, so I've heard. But Rocka Rolla always, to me, sounded old. It sounded like a band that hadn't yet hit their stride, still figuring things out, new lineup, blah, 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 right? But not a bad album. Maybe not a great debut, but a decent debut that kind of foreshadowed things to come, which, as we know, came on that second album. A lot of people have complained that the mix on the original Rocka Rolla, a little on the muddy side, maybe not showing the true power of the band. Roger Bain's production didn't really do it any favors, I don't think, but I never thought it was an awful sounding album. Well, with this, all of a sudden Rocka Rolla becomes way more interesting to my ears. Let's take a look at this is the CD version here. So obviously you've got all the original cover and back art from the band. All right, you open it up. Just a little bit of factoids there, right? Of course, you've got Glenn Tipton, fresh in the band on guitars and keyboards. Rob Halford on vocals, right? So you got replacing, right? This Mr. Atkins. You got John Hinch on drums. Nobody ever talks about John Hinch. This new mix sounds really good. Founding member KK Downing on guitars, and of course, founding member Ian Hill on bass. Let's take a look at they got this cool kind of little, it's almost like a poster, but also lyric sheet, and it's got quotes from surviving members of the band. So let me carefully open this up for you. All right, so first of all, we got a cool shot of the band. Look at them, right? Mere babies. And then on the back, we've got full lyrics and little quotes from Halford, Tipton, Ian Hill, and KK Downing, along with other photographs. Cool picture of Rob down below with all the long hair, right? How cool does he look there? So, yeah, definitely pretty cool stuff there. So, what do I think of this remix? So, of course, Tom Allom, right, longtime producer of the band, was, after they found the original master tapes, he was charged with remixing Rocka Rolla. I will say, it's a revelation for me. I always thought that this album kind of, like I said before, kind of hinted at what was to come. With this new remix, he has brought the guitars, especially the riffs, way up and really gave them some additional heft. The drums of John Hinch sound spectacular on here. And most importantly, Rob Halford already sounds like the metal god with this new mix. There's some echo and reverb added to his vocals in spots. They're definitely more prominent in the mix. And all of a sudden now, it's a Judas Priest album. What do you want to hear? You want to hear cranking guitars. You want to hear those over-the-top vocals. And you want to hear absolutely crushing drums, right? Oh, and Ian Hill too, right? You get all that on this remix. And all of a sudden, Rocka Rolla becomes this really, really powerful, potent debut album that it probably always should have been. Yeah, there's still that inherent bluesiness to some of these songs. You're not going to get away from that. But the way it's presented now makes it much, much more of an early proto-metal album than just a heavy blues rock album, which I think we all always thought that Rocka Rolla was. So as we go through the tracks on here, you've got One for the Road, kicks it off. Again, it just bumps and grinds. It's the riff is lethal. Halford soaring over the top. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, this has a little bit more potency than it ever had before. Title track Rocka Rolla comes up next. I mean, that groove is undeniable. The riff is so cool. It's just catchy. Again, heavy though. Very, very good. Winter crushes on here. Absolutely crushes on here. They also, in the mix, they set all these tracks, the Winter Suite, all separated, right? So you get one after another with little kind of, not kind of like fade outs, but you can hear like at the end of each song, you can hear things just kind of stop. You hear some talking from the guys in the studio, whatnot. Very cool. Deep Freeze features, KK Downing's little whammy bar cadenza thing going on there, right? It's noisy, it's chaotic, right? It's kind of cool, but all of a sudden you hear other things in the background, right? It's like the band is there doing some stuff too. It's not just KK doing the woo. Wow, kind of cool. Winter Retreat, kind of mellow, kind of somber, melancholy. That gives way to Cheater, which is probably the one track on here, even with the remix, still sounds like that heavy blues rock style that we all thought most of the rest of the album kind of fell under, right? It still has that feel to it, but the bass rumbles a little bit more. The guitars are a little higher in the mix. Halford again sounds good. Very cool. Side 1, the original vinyl, done a really good job on that. Over on what was originally side 2 of the vinyl, second half of the CD, you got Never Satisfied, which becomes the heaviest track on the album now. Never Satisfied, absolutely killer. Absolutely killer on here. Halford is already in Metal God mode. Again, he's did some little tweaking to the presentation of the voice, of the vocals in the mix. Holy cow, so good. The riffs, crushing. The solos, amazing. Run of the mill, nearly 9 minutes long, right? Atmospheric, moody. A lot of cool things going, a lot of light and shade going on here. When the big riffs kick in, sounds great. The guitar solos sounds great. Takes on new depth here. Dying to Meet You, kind of cut from a similar cloth to Run of the Mill. It's atmospheric, it's moody, there's some light and shade, there's some heavy sections, there's some mellower sections, right? Really good. Never one of my favorite songs on the album, but it's definitely sounds good here. And then Caviar and Mets, which to me is like probably was the biggest wasted opportunity in doing this. I was kind of hoping that somewhere, if they had the original master tapes, that they might have had an original version of Caviar and Mets, which was, obviously a much, much longer track than the barely over 2 minutes that we've only ever known on Rocka Rolla. But sadly, it's just what we know from that album. And again, it's just this kind of little instrumental that was meant to be part of a much longer track. They ran out of room on the album. Whatever. Lost the original tape. Whatever the reason, right? We only just have the original Caviar and Mets from the original Rocka Rolla release. And it's fine for what it is. Kind of ends the album on like a mellow, kind of like a downer vote, right? Because you downer note, because you're kind of looking for a little bit more, right? After some of the cool, heavy stuff that we saw beforehand. But overall, I think it sounds really, really good. Some may complain that maybe Ian Hill wasn't pushed a little bit more in the mix. On certain songs he is, but I think they've kind of kept him at a very even keel throughout the album to raise the bar on the guitars, the drums, and the vocals. It's a much, much more impactful listen to me. To me, this album now all of a sudden has that power that some of us kind of doubted that it had. I always thought that some of the songs were really, really good, but it just sounded old, sounded a little too bluesy, and it lacked that kind of metallic edge that those albums that came after it had. So, yeah, I really like this a lot. I think for those who have always thought that Rocka Rolla may be one of Priest's lesser efforts, you might be thinking a little differently after hearing this. I think all of a sudden this now becomes the album that we always wanted it to be. And with this new remix of Rocka Rolla, now it's like, well, now I can see this album standing up against the first Sabbath album, the first Budgie album, and things like that, right? All of a sudden now the power is there. And it's not just reserved for Sad Wings of Destiny. You know, Sad Wings of Destiny obviously had better songs, but there's some really good songs on here. There always was. Now they sound even better, and they sound more like the Judas Priest we all know and love. So yeah, I would urge anybody who hasn't checked this out yet, go get this. It's now on CD. I think it became available late in the year, right around Thanksgiving time here in the States. So it's now available. It's pretty inexpensive. It sounds great. Packaging is awesome, and I really like it a lot. All of a sudden now, this becomes a 4 out of 5 star album for me. So yeah. Go check it out. But a great job by Tom on the remix here. Really, really, really great job. So go check it out. If you've already heard it, let us know what you think down in the comments below. And we'll see you next time here on the channel. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, our Cameo page, and the Sea of Tranquility membership options all down below. Thank you to all of you who do contribute. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you soon here with more stuff. I am Pete Pardo. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.